Hello, welcome to the Glasstire Spring Preview 2017. It's here. The dumpster fire of 2016 is over. So now we're in 2017. I'm Rainey Knudson.
The new dumpster fire.
Potentially a new dumpster fire or potentially a brand new day.
Sure.
Rainey Knudson.
Christina Rees.
Brandon Zech. So it's our spring preview. We're each going to present our three little picks of what's going on. So my first pick is at the Blanton, and it opens March 12th. It's Nina Khatchatorian, Curiouser. So you're familiar with Khatchatorian's work, right?
I love her work.
Kind of a huge, I would say, mid-career retrospective. Accent Elimination, the video that was in the 2015 Venice Biennial, is going to be in it, and the Blanton actually just recently acquired that video as well, as well as Seat Assignment Series, so it's work that she made using only materials available on airplanes that she documented using her digital camera on her phone. She's really great at just taking the environment around her and playing on things that she is already familiar with and turning those into a different way of looking at things. And shout out also, the Blanton has been redoing their upstairs galleries, and those are opening on February 12th, and we're all really excited about possibly seeing some new work that they've pulled out of the back that hasn't been on view in the past who knows how long.
This is their permanent collection.
And then at the Houston Center for Contemporary Craft, there is a show by Navajo artist Melissa Cody called Future Tradition. So Cody comes from a family of Navajo weavers. So she's a fourth generation. She weaves using stand-up loom, and it's kind of her drawing on this tradition in her family, but she's putting her own spin on it. You know, she's younger, and she's interjecting like pop culture imagery and video games, and it kind of looks like little bits of like an Atari game or an early Nintendo system. And they're just these really beautifully crafted objects.
And for all the textile goobs out there, the Center for Contemporary Craft makes a point of saying she's not using the vegetable dyes of early Navajo weavings, which were sort of kind of a voguey thing more recently. She's gone back to the synthetic chrome dyes, which were used in the 1860s when the Navajos were pushed off of their native lands.
And then the third one, it's kind of a twofer. It's at Art League Houston. It's opening January 27th, so it's opening soon. And it's Chickie Brown, I Called the Zoo, but the Lion Was Busy, who, Chickie Brown is a 94-year-old Houston artist.
We'll forgive her for using lion as a pun.
It works. She started painting in her 60s. The show's put together by Francesca Fuchs. Chickie Brown's, her paintings are just fantastic. They're using relationships between men and women and kind of looking at what they are, but they look like they're done by someone much younger. Francesca, in her quote about the show, says that they're really hip, which
they're really hip.
They totally are.
Yeah.
And then also at Art League Houston is a hallway show by Iva Kinnaird. It's called Art Show! ! You know, I've been following Iva for a long time. I really love her work. I think there's going to be some oil paintings in this show, but I was talking to her recently, and she said there's going to be other stuff, too.
All right, so my three. Let's start with Vaulton Tyler. This is going to be at the Amon Carter. And I looked at the previews for all of the museums, and the Amon Carter is still right this second. Feels like sort of the most exciting museum in DFW. Vaulton Tyler is a self-taught artist. He's been around for a long, long time. He's shown at Valley House since the 70s. He lives in Garland. He's very kind of self-isolating. He doesn't really interact with the art world at all. This is a retrospective of his work. It's a very unexpected, strange thing. He does this surrealist, kind of biomechanical. There's some sort of religious and landscape quality to it. It doesn't look like what we sometimes think of as self-taught art. It looks very much like a kind of 70s surrealism in some ways.
But another surprising pick from the Amon Carter, and interesting and compelling.
Yeah. Next would be, this was at the Fort Worth Modern, and it's not the Fort Worth Modern's big show. It's not the Donald Sultan show. What I'm looking forward to is the focus show that's coming up that Allison Hurst she curates that series now. It's Stanley Whitney, and he is a New York-based artist. I think he's probably in his 60s or 70s now. These are just big, beautiful color block paintings. They're kind of expansive and sort of sunny, and they're rhythmical, and they're just a pleasure to look at. And I'm sure that they'll be great in a kind of more concentrated space. And then another thing that I'm looking forward to is at the Grace Museum. It's coming up in May, and it's called As Is Rural Realism. Say that 1,000 times fast. The Rural Juror. Do you remember? This is a landscape show. It's a group show. Daniel Blagg, Julie Bosey, Lloyd Brown, Katie Murata. There are about 9 or 10 artists in the show, primarily Texas artists, showing us their take on Texas landscape. It's not romantic. It's very stripped down. It's going to be a little bit sort of brutal in a sense, and it looks like it's going to be good. It's a very good list of artists. I think it's a perfect museum for showing it, considering it's in Abilene, and that'll be worth a trip out.
My first pick is at the Art Museum of Southeast Texas in Beaumont, not to be confused with the Art Museum of South Texas in Corpus Christi. In Beaumont, this show technically opened in December, but we haven't really talked about it yet. 2-person show, David Aylesworth, either slash and, clever title, and Steve Murphy. It's all come down to this. Steve Murphy and David Aylesworth are 2 sort of stalwart, very, very, very good abstract artists. David Aylesworth makes beautiful abstract paintings. And Steve Murphy is just a fantastic sculptor. I love his graphite and wood pieces. I love his metal pieces. They are just abstract but luscious tabletop wall pieces, floor pieces. Back in the day, he welded his own stuff. Now, I think he outsources a lot of his welding. It doesn't matter who's welding it. That doesn't matter. As if Jeff Koons has taught us anything, it's that the meticulousness of the object itself is supreme. I'm joking. This is a wonderful artist, and I'm very excited about both these shows, and they're up through February 26th in Beaumont. And then the next 2 picks for me are both at Rice University. Rice is where the action is in Houston this spring. The first show is extremely bittersweet for Houston fans of the Rice Gallery. Rice Gallery, for 22 years, I think, has been the only university gallery dedicated to site-specific installation art. And it was all temporary projects and large-scale environments, and Kim Davenport, the director, and Josh Fisher, the curator there, had this knack for finding people who would go on to become art stars and showing them before you had heard of them. And we are all going to miss Rice Gallery. So their final show is opening in February. It is a 20th anniversary showing of some Sol LeWitt wall drawings that they commissioned in 1997. And they are dark and somber. I think when they first showed them in 1997, they didn't have a sepulchral maudlin undercurrent, but because they are black and dark and it's somber and calm and a finale, there is a finality to them this time. On the other side of the Rice campus is the new Moody Center opening, which is opening in February and March. It's the new interdisciplinary art center. Every good university has to have one. And Rice is no exception anymore. So, Olafur Eliasson, Thomas Struth, Mona Hatoum is their resident artist. She's going to have events. There's a dance performance at the Terrell Sky Space. Diana Thader is doing a 9-monitor video wall. So, quite the star-studded kickoff. So while we will all be mourning the Rice Gallery, we can also be excited by the glittering excitement of the new Moody Center. Anything else for this spring?
Travel, lots of travel.
We're going to be traveling. We're going to be looking at more art. We're going to be spending less time on the internet. We're going to be spending more time out in the world with humans.
This is our collective New Year's.
This is our collective New Year's resolution.
It's easy, actually, because it feels like it's time.
Yes. So we hope that you have a great 2017, and we hope that it's not a dumpster fire, and we hope that you go see some art.
Go see some art.
Go see some art.